Hello, hello. Welcome to the Security Experience Podcast, the safe space to talk security. I'm your host, Everett with Josh Bowman. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Excited to record episode 1 here with you.
Yeah.
We I know we're both got a little bit of experience in our back pockets with some podcasting, so it's really fun to kind of meet up and do this together. I thought I would kind of just start a bit of talking about the name Security Experience, a safe space to talk security. There's a book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. So I think we should start with why.
I like it.
Yeah, the meaning behind this podcast is, first of all, we feel it's needed. It's a kind of a space in our industry that is just kind of full of gaps, and so really we would challenge and invite anyone and all to enter this space, because we see it now. Most folks are consuming their information, their news, all through podcasts, right? So why not security? Why not get the latest and greatest through a security podcast? And so we wanted to create a safe space where security pros who actually make spaces safe all over the world will have a space for themselves where they can feel safe. And, it doesn't matter what segment of the industry you're in, what position you hold, whether you're wiring panels, programming AI cameras, in sales, outside or inside, or leading a Fortune 500 company. We want you to be a part of this, to talk openly, right? No judgment, just smart talk in a safe space.
I love it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And, I think, and tell me if you agree with this, Josh, we're kind of seeing a paradigm shift in our industry. I say that our legends and mentors, the great job they did in kind of putting the pavers on the pathway for us to walk down, are now starting to age out.
Right.
I was having this conversation recently with a good friend of mine, and we were at an event, and we just saw, man, we're like, dude, we're going to be given the baton here pretty soon. This is us now. And so part of this platform is to inspire the next generation. Kind of we take the onus on us in where we, in our generation. And, because of that, in a way to inspire others, we're going to be doing a lot of interviews with the shakers and movers of our industry. We want their voices to live on in the industry. Right. And so influencers, integrators, manufacturers, all those that have an inspiring story, which all of us do. We all have our story. We want to share. We want to be able to have the upcomers, or the ones coming up behind us, to know the journeys we've been on. Right.
Yeah. And like you said, I think whether we want to understand this or not, we are on the precipice of becoming the old guys of the industry, so to speak. So,
hey, speak for yourself, man. Speak for yourself.
Yeah. You're younger than me, so
I didn't use the word old for a reason. Okay.
No, it's on the horizon, and I think it's great that we have these media tools and these digital tools these days we experience both worlds in our age group, a very analog world and a very digital world. And I think people in our mid 40s-ish age range, I think we're comfortable with both. So I think there's some great experiences, that we've had coming up that are very unique. And I think we have a responsibility to share it. And I think it's not just me and you, but our whole age bracket. We're gonna have to be ready to, step up and show some kindness and some patience and show some respect to those that are coming up. And, I think at our age, we still kind of forget how long it's been. I think our lives move so quick. We still feel like we're just getting started out ourselves, but none of us would be where we are right now if we didn't have the mentorship and the leadership of others, and people taking time to invest in us. So I was pretty honored that you offered me the opportunity to help do that together. So
Oh, the honor's all mine, man. No, you have a lot of value and a interesting background yourself too. And so, when we were talking about this, it made all the sense in the world to me. So thank you for joining me on this. And just to reemphasize what to expect from this podcast, it's going to be primarily made up of interviews, like we talked about, of some
Right.
people that are going to help. Mold us in our journeys, new, old, doesn't matter who you are and where you're at in the industry. But this episode, we're going to kind of talk just a few topics,
Mhm.
some topics that, may be on your mind, may not be on your mind, things you've thought about, things you may have not thought about, right? I'll give you a brief rundown of some of the agenda that's online up here. One of the topics that we'll start with is AI. AI really taking over or just burning cash? We kind of see the start of this, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
question on where it's going. Is it's kind of scary but cool at the same time, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, man. So, and then you made mention of we in our generation have we just have an interesting position,
Right.
because you know we grew up analog, but we're in a
Right.
digital world,
Right.
and so pivoting through that has been interesting. And
Yeah.
I can't say that any other generation really can share that with us. We're kind of special in that way,
It's very
right?
unique. Yeah.
So, and then we'll talk about, did security botch the cloud transition? And that was something
Hmm.
you brought up when we were kind of prepping for this, and I thought that was a really interesting question. So we'll talk more
Yeah.
about that, and then we'll end off. So, yeah, let's kind of jump into this, man. AI. Is
Right.
AI really taking over or just burning cash? There was, let's see, a fact that I found here that OpenAI reportedly lost 540 million per year as of 2024. What do you think, man? Is this a loss leader? Is this a sign of anything particular?
So I've been notably a Dunning-Kruger fan
Mhm.
of AI. Know a little, profess to know a lot, or accidentally give that appearance. But I'm
Mhm.
fascinated with AI, and I
Mhm.
wish we could just hit the fast forward button and get to that part where we have the AGI robots. Because you talk about generations moving on. I mean, each of these generations also gets smaller, and so I
Yes.
think we need this technology. And I think there's an issue that is occurring right now, whether it be reality or fear, that
Mm.
AI is taking jobs away because these things
Right.
now can be done at very low cost,
Right.
very quickly, at scale. And there's a reality that I think that we might be missing here. And that is, I mean, we're the same age. I can think back to the early days of streaming where Netflix was like
Mhm.
$3 a month, and this is
Right.
amazing. I'm hardly
Right.
paying anything.
Right.
And now it's $22 a month and I get fed commercials. So
Yeah.
if you look at all of the technologies that have come along, and,
Mm.
you know, if you've watched any documentaries on Google, for example, and some of the large tech companies, there's a real movement of behavioral psychology into
Mm.
tech. And I mean, billions and billions and billions. In fact, they talk about the losses of OpenAI being around 540 a year as of last year. I've heard numbers in the billions when you factor in
Yeah.
what they're
Right.
not counting.
Yep.
And they're getting tremendous investment. And really, if you look at the stock market yesterday, the market was way down with the threat of tariffs and other issues.
Mhm.
Yet the NASDAQ was up. And why is that? That's NVIDIA, because they
Right.
just became like, what, a $3 trillion company
Yeah.
in terms of valuation, all in the
Yep.
back of AI. And do you think that something that is probably like that company now is larger than the GDP of the European Union, I believe?
Wow. Wow,
Crazy.
really? Yeah.
Just to
Huh.
lose 540 a year. I,
Yeah.
I question, what's going to happen. And this was a conversation we were having not long ago. I mean, what's going to happen when, you're the frog that gets the slow temperature build, like you don't hop out of the pot because you don't know
Right.
that you're going to get boiled. Is there some component of this where they're just getting us to where we depend on these things, and then all of a sudden your $20 a month or free. So many of these tools have been free up until today. What happens when that becomes real cost prohibitive?
Right.
What are we going to do then?
Yeah.
Are we going to feel like we're stuck and we got to stick with it? Or are we going to see maybe a stall in the advancement, which, as I've been clear about, I don't want to see that. But at the same time, I mean, is it going to grow the way it is? Are we going to continue to see that? Because these losses combined with the amount of investment that's not being counted as a loss, there's billions of dollars to make up. Yeah. Where's that going to come from? Yeah. Why would they do it if not to get a return on that investment? So I'm a little concerned about that and where that may head, because we're going to have a lot of people who maybe come to rely upon, I try to be careful that I don't put myself in a position where I can't do the job without it, yet understand I'm kind of an idiot if I don't use things to get mundane tasks done faster, especially with a young business. I mean, what am I going to do? Just like cut my nose off to spite my face? Like it's a bad idea, but at the same time, I try to be careful I don't become overly reliant. I don't think that's how most people work.
Yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen when the costs skyrocket? Are we going to start valuing humans a bit more, or what do you think is going to happen there?
All valid questions, man. There's just such a big unknown here, and that's part of, that's part of the concern, what this reminds me of, and it's on a larger scale, obviously, but it reminds me of the Amazon plan. I remember seeing interviews with Jeff Bezos 5 years into Amazon. Yeah. I think it was like Jay Leno he was on, and Jay Leno asked him, he's like, so, 5 years into Amazon, and I hear you haven't turned a profit. He's like, not a dime. We take losses every year. Yeah. And it's the same concept that AI is taking, and so it's interesting, but I'm like you, I feel that, if I don't utilize it as a tool, I'm just going to get ran over. We have to stay competitive for our business, and it is a valuable tool. But what is the cost of it? What is the cost? And that's definitely something to be seen,
And, we have concerns too, really, in this country. We're pushing our power grid to the brink, already with the amount of data centers and technology. It seems like the trend is reversing, but I don't know. We'll see long term. I mean, the electric vehicle market at one point was predicted to, completely overtake fossil fuel vehicles at some point. As a motorhead, I don't really want to be forced into that, but at the same time, I understand air quality and so forth, but our power grid is a little bit at the edge of what it can do for us, and we haven't really made investments in nuclear. So what happens when we realize that if we're going to use AI at scale and AI for everything, so let's leave the cost to the consumer out of it. I mean, are we maybe going to hit a wall where we can't build enough data centers? We can't power them. We can't. I mean, I did see, was it Microsoft that bought one of those micro reactor companies looking at mini nuclear as a way to power data centers? I mean, so maybe we partially solve it with that. I kind of wish, if we are concerned with, the things that we hear about climate change and, green energy and all these things. I mean, nothing's more clean or more robust than nuclear. So I kind of like to see us invest in that now, because it takes like 10 years, I think, to get a nuclear plant up, but there's zero emissions out of those, right? So if we really want to have an electric future, I don't think burning coal and hydro, and I don't like the windmills personally, but I think they're ugly and hideous, but they also don't seem to produce the output that we need.
Right.
So I kind of wonder, like, as fast as this is moving, are we going to hit a wall where we just can't build the infrastructure to continue to scale that?
Yeah, definitely seems like there's more, focus on, the engine running than the fuel to run the engine.
Right.
And it's interesting, because you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I live in California. I'm on the other side of you. And I mean, we've seen the mistake of making mandates with, EV vehicles, and we can't even we can't even hold the grid for our homes.
Right.
So it's just not sustainable on that level. And that's, I mean, we're talking about AI. It's such it's a larger scale, as far as power consumption. I think another option too that I think is just now being explored, at least I'm hearing more about it, is hydrogen. So, it's a clean source of energy, but I've been working with a client out here in Southern California that has brought that technology. He just opened up almost a 500,000 square foot building, and he has concept vehicles or hydrogen moving trucks and box trucks, and it's such a cool thing to see. And it's kind of dual because it's hydrogen with EV backing that up, and so it's kind of cool to see that, but there are these other concepts, right, that we can use. And but yeah, you're right. We have to focus in on that to be able to sustain all this AI power that it's going to take.
I mean, we've reached a point even with the heating and cooling that they've come up. I'm sure you've seen with the non-conductive gel in the data centers that they actually,
you're right.
They're in what looks like water. And as part of, I mean, things are running so hot is what I'm saying. Well, what's creating that heat? I mean, that's power. That we're getting into the most energy consumption that we've ever conceived.
Right.
As we push into AI and as we realize we've got to do this at a tremendous scale. And oh, by the way, we're not into AGI yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's that going to take? Right. So, I mean, you look at the value of NVIDIA. Well, that's because they're making all these boards that are running so hot, to process all this. And that's only going to get bigger. Yep. And, the heating, the cooling, just running them. I mean, a data center takes up a tremendous amount of resources. So I was intrigued when I saw Microsoft buy that mini reactor company, because it seems like one of my tinfoil hat things that I've been wanking on about for 15 years, which is why did we abandon nuclear? Let's use our heads. And now you just kind of quietly see us going that direction. So I'm actually encouraged by that. And maybe that becomes the answer. But, we're busy people, human creatures. We got a lot to do every day, and we don't stop and we don't think things through. But, I'd credit Sunny Ty. I don't know what caused me to, but within the last week, I was sitting and thinking, I wonder if we're just going to get hit with such a massive increase in fees to use AI, if it's even going to continue to be a question whether it would replace humans or not, because the human man of being cheaper. And I almost thought about making a video presenting that topic, and I saw Sonny, made a post about it that morning and brought that up. He's a smart guy. I don't know if you follow him or
I don't,
but he's the founder of Actuate.
Okay.
But real smart, real thoughtful guy. I like him. And same thought that I was having. So I think we got a number of factors that we're going to weigh it into. I don't think AI is going to go away. I want to be clear about that. Either. This is not a thing that's going to fail and stop. But there's some other forces at play that may slow this down or find some happy medium. So just to me, it all goes back to, I'm more worried about what's going to stop this from growing versus I think a lot of people are worried about it taking over everything and nobody's going to have a job. And
no, you're right. I mean, the genie is definitely out of the bottle. There's no way to really put that back in, but you're right. I mean, it's just kind of more to come and but I think staying on top of it as far as just keeping our eye on it, because it affects, just about every workspace that you're in. Even if you feel like your role is safe from it, it still affects it in some way or another, even if it actually puts more workload on you. I mean, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later too, but companies are eliminating positions and kind of combining roles, right? Because AI can do this, but not that. And now, hey, you know what? We'll get rid of 5 people. We'll keep you, that one person. Now you're doing everything, including managing AI. And so it's affecting everybody.
There's no job that you do now that is unaffected by AI.
Yeah. Great.
Even if you're a farmer, AI is really impacting the tech that they can use, even with the tractors and equipment. that was already computerized if it was very modern and satellite driven and all these things. And now AI can do so much more there. We've seen, I don't know if it was here or out where you are, but there was like a fully automated Taco Bell that opened up recently.
Yeah.
There's no people inside. It's just all AI robots. I'm suspiciously okay with that in that regard. I
don't know. Maybe from like a cleanliness standpoint, maybe, I don't know.
Counting on that robot not to, have a beard and get anything in my burrito. So
no sneezing or anything like that.
Yeah. Right? Maybe we'll cut down on some communicable diseases that way. But I mean, whatever you do, AI is affecting it. I don't think there's anything on earth that you can do for a living. If you drive an Uber, you've got to think about where we're going with Waymo and some of these things. I think Elon is all over that too. But the thing that I want to remind people, and again, I think we just lose sight of these things sometimes. I mean, I think we have a couple logistical walls that AI is likely to hit. Not that I'm rooting for it, but I think it will, and is going to have to come down to earth a bit, which we just talked about. But I think the people also have to remember that this earth was around a long time, and so were humans before we had this economy that we live within. And this economy only exists as a structure for people.
Right.
So if we get to a place where nobody can earn a living, there is no economy. There is nothing to pay for any of this. There's no reason for any of this to exist. There's nobody's spending any money we are a consumer driven economy, period. So if we don't have money and we're all living in tents and well, so are they, and their money's no good anyway. What are you even going to buy? Right. So, I mean, at somewhere along the way, and it's going to be bumpy at times, transitions always are. And I don't take that lightly, and I don't take any glee in it, but just everybody's got to calm down a little bit in my view and stop worrying that this is the end of, and like when people talk about universal basic income, we'll have to have that now because where is that coming from? Because this economy is consumer driven. It's based on people earning a living and then spending that money
consuming
to enjoy that living and consuming. And that is how our economy works. There is no Defense Department. There is no money for Washington. There is no, again, we talk about the investment and why billions get put into AI. It's to make money.
Right. Yeah, that's the paradox.
It's not just because we're cool Star Trek scientists and we want to, there's money, so everybody's got to relax a little bit because it doesn't benefit anyone. Even the AI companies, especially the AI companies.
Absolutely.
If a condition is created where nobody can earn a living. But you also don't want to go back in time and say, okay, people that made wagons and traded horses in the center of town and dealt with those things weren't real happy when the Model T happened. Are you going to go back in time and appease them so that nothing good came after? I mean, we've got to, unfortunately, life's never going to be real comfortable and safe for any of us ever. Sure. And so we're always going to have to be nimble, and we're always going to have to be willing to learn and adjust. And, that's why, like I said, I would try not to depend on it in a way that I can't function without it. But at the same time, we got to use it. We got to keep up.
It's interesting too, because, Elon Musk, he's, at one of the leaders at the forefront of all this AI stuff with Grok and all that. And, he's been
an early investor in OpenAI.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. But he's been quoted as saying, are we heading to a world where we build gods we cannot afford to feed? And so even he's questioning things, because it's kind of, again, trying to have the foresight of all this is tough, to forecast what things look like, down the line. So definitely an interesting conversation.
Wants to get to Mars because he is afraid our planet's not going to be inhabitable. So I think he thinks along those lines anyways. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a really smart person. I would never question that. I also think he's highly emotional and whimsical at times.
And we've seen that just recently. Yeah, definitely.
Have we ever not seen it with that guy? I mean, he's an interesting one because I appreciate so many things he does and get irritated with so many others. And I've seen him do some things I was really kind of hoping and praying he would do because he's one of the only people that can, but then I don't love what he did with it when he got it. You know?
Yeah.
There's no way I'm talking about Twitter.
Yeah.
He's an interesting one. I mean, there's always something to glean from his statements like that. But again, he's one that's been on Rogan and has talked about this apocalyptic future potentially. And
yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. But again, where the robots don't need money. The animals don't need money. Nobody else needs this economy but us. And so if there's no money to be made, then I guess we live off the land again or barter and trade. I mean, the people who are controlling things would never want this to happen. They lose more than anybody. I think you got to learn, take it one day at a time, take a deep breath, stop panicking. And again, like I said, I worry that we're going to hit these walls and we're going to lose our, to me, what we're experiencing now is not what's big. It's civilizations rise and fall. They always have. And there's different reasons that those happen. Each civilization faced a different issue. Our economy, our way of life is driven through growth, period. Whether you're looking at a business and whether their shares are going up or down in value has a lot to do with growth. Our GDP, our population always has to grow. Our population is shrinking.
Right.
By a lot, because we were like over 5, it was like 5.1 kids per family or some number like that during the boomer era. Our era is like a little over 3 kids per family. We're under 2 and dropping. And you're talking about 10, 15-year gaps between each. We're going to hit a wall on the amount of people, period. So having robots that can fill in the gaps could actually extend our civilization is just a crazy thought that I have. Maybe that's a little out there, but I also think it's kind of logical and number driven. And I think we would have had a real challenge without it. So I'm one that, I look at these potential delays and these factors and I don't wish for it. I do think that we will experience good from that, even though it may feel initially or at first, it feels like it's taking away. We may not have enough doctors or firefighters or anything 20 years from now. But if we have the AGI robots and they walk amongst us and can participate and be a part of society and handle these jobs, they didn't take anybody's job. Like they allow our way of life to continue.
Right. And as we bridge this topic into our industry, the security industry, do you think integrators really care about AI, or do you think it's just more of a cloud marketing hype that is just kind of a buzzword, so to speak, that's being pushed around?
Like we just said, I mean, this is affecting if you work at Taco Bell, a farm, anything. I mean, there's no job that you're not affected by this. I think that in our industry, I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding about what counts as AI. I think people have their own idea of what counts as AI. I still see a lot of people, and I'm never going to win any love for saying it. But I mean, when I took that AI course from Duke, there was 2 months worth of education on computer vision in the middle of that.
Okay.
I mean, these analytics that people say, well, I said AI, now you're just making things up. That's not AI. No, it literally is. It's just not the AI you're thinking of. And I think that's where our industry is I think we're debating details like that, all these manufacturers are making that up, and that's just analytics. That's not AI. It is. It's not the AI you're looking for. So I think in our industry, I think people are waiting to see, what tools, really leap us forward into the user experience being much more easy and intuitive. I mean, I think we all are waiting to see how these platforms evolve. And I know many that are working on this, where any user can just kind of talk to the system and say, show me what happened over here. This thing's going on. What should I do? And there's multiple, that are in development in different places. But I think you walk the show floor at ISC, not even this year, but the year before. That's what everybody was talking about. So I think our industry is very curious about AI. I think, everybody in our industry is human. So there's fears of, what jobs may be lost. I think there's fears of privacy and cybersecurity and how that can be affected. And there's fears of vaporware. If you're at the integrator level, like you're asking, I think they're always worried about, okay, who's the first one that's going to sell me something that isn't anything like what they're saying it is.
Right.
And that's a challenge for an integrator, because you have a responsibility to your customers to make sure that you are putting in legitimately good, reliable products, especially
Right.
considering the importance of what is being done in security. So
Yeah.
I think it's a huge effect at the integrator level. And I
Yeah.
think each is going to be different. I have in my own outlook on AI and what I'm hopeful for and what I'm worried about. And it's probably very different than a lot of other people. And I think you're going to see a lot of that variety out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I've said it before, where I think AI is going to really affect our industry, the security industry, is it's going to take our products that we use to, make places safe, secure properties, secure product and people. It's going to take it from reactive to proactive.
For sure.
We all know how an alarm system works. It's reactive to something triggering, right? Well, what if we can stop that trigger from happening? What if we can,
Right.
almost like Minority Report status, like be able
Yep.
to see what's going to happen prior and stop that. And I look forward to seeing where AI takes that, because that's going to be really neat, because that's going to be one of the safer ways to secure buildings, people, products. So let's move into the next topic, man. Growing up analog in a digital market.
Right.
We were talking a little earlier, and I was telling you about a conversation I had with an integrator just recently. He's like 2 or 3 years into the industry. He's never put in an analog camera,
Right.
it blew my
Thankfully.
mind. It just blew my mind, because I was like, I didn't think about how, again, going back to where we are positioned in this industry with our generation, we're
Right.
probably the last generation that has been exposed to analog, using it regularly, and then going into IP, into that digital space, that IoT space. And it's so interesting, because it tells me that we in particular too, and this is for even those coming up, because they're going to find themselves in the position where things evolve, and you have to reskill yourself. You have to, or you get passed up. We're talking about AI. We have to reskill ourselves with using AI and how to utilize that. And it's, would you say that it's kind of every 3 to 5 years we should be prepared to reskill ourselves in our craft, in our art?
I think you should wake up every day wondering when that's going to come. I mean, we're talking about how AI is going to change how the job is done, even at the integrator level, right? I think back to 15 years ago, as an integrator, I was having a real hard time with the number of security techs that they couldn't change an IP address. They didn't understand the concept that, so a lot of, I don't think it's as common now, but it used to be like these cameras would show up, for example, or any of these devices, and it would have like a static IP that was nowhere in your range. And so you had to look what that default is, and you had to go to your network adapter and change it so that you could talk to that device, make it DHCP or set it in range.
Right.
And it was just like they thought you were asking them to write computer software. I mean, it was upsetting to them. I mean, the whole concept of understanding a network, and it was why as an integrator, I tried to bring all of these disciplines together so that they could all kind of feed each other and help each other. But man, in this day and age, do you find many security integrators that are just blown away by IP? I mean, it's just taken for granted that everything's on the network, everything's PoE, everything, they get it. And some are more network savvy than others, but everybody is a little bit. And so I think these things constantly evolve, and we constantly have to change. As far as big changes, I'd say 3 to 5 is a good estimate, because if you think about that 15-year period, you had the IP revolution in security, and then cloud, and now we're in AI. And I think that fits in that time frame pretty cleanly.
Yeah, I agree. It's just becoming a new norm, and I think for those that are just coming into this industry, I guess just kind of preparing their minds for that is important. I never really thought that way when I came into this. I thought, kind of, tunnel vision, so to speak. And I've had to adapt and evolve with things or get passed up. But as I, now over 20 years into this, as I look back and analyze my journey, I'm like, you have to prepare yourself to reskill, whether that's going from analog to digital, from analog to IP, you have to reskill yourself in those ways to be competitive and keep value, you know. But yeah, so oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, it's like in adulthood, like I grew up working, but as an adult, like my entry into the workforce as an adult was Y2K is coming.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was in IT. And so I got to see that whole scenario play out and what people would say about it and the fears that they had. I wasn't worried on New Year's Eve. I mean, I knew that we fixed it.
Right.
But, you know, you think about we're just getting to use computers. And I remember people thinking, you know, well, I'm 10 years from retirement. I'm not going to learn these computers, you know. Just
right.
And it just never really stopped. And then it was internet. And then it was the, you know, we used to call it convergence, where things would now be IP and be on the network. That was wild. And telephone, security, you name it, all these different low volt techs that I was a part of. IT used to be one person could run it all. God help you if you try that these days. I mean, you know, the managed services revolution, cloud. I mean, you just think about the last 20. I don't know. I have to really look back at history to see like if it's really accelerating the way that it feels or if it's always been that way. But to me, it feels like, again, that's unique about our generation is we grew up in a world where we would ride our bicycle to somewhere and play baseball and football and these things all day. As like a 7 or 8 year old, you wouldn't even know, your parents didn't even know where you were.
Right.
They'd be more worried if they did. And then you come home and watch some DuckTales and eat a peanut butter sandwich and do it all again the next day. And that was your summer. And by the time I finished high school, there was internet in most of the classrooms. And we didn't all have cell phones, but half of us did. And that was normal. And so I think that's our generation experiencing both of these worlds. I mean, just like you kind of kicked this off with, I mean, you're able to relate to them, you know, they're going to run into it somewhere. Right. And so we're always looking for those folks that have dealt with it. When I was in IT in the late 90s, there was something called 50 ohm vampire tap was one method of communication. It's like a large coax, like a weird, but anyway, you get it. There were people that were around before that were like, oh, I know what that is, you know, and they could help you. We're going to have to help people on a larger level, you know, understand these concepts that are going to be foreign to them, you know, and the lessons that we've learned. And they call us, I think, Generation Y. Yeah. Those of us that are in our 40s now ish, where we kind of experienced both. You know, we actually had a childhood as we were young. It was probably very similar to what the boomer generation even experienced.
Right.
But at the end, it's far more closer to what a millennial would have experienced. So I think back to what you started with in the beginning of this show. I mean, as we grow into that leadership age, you know, as we become the elders, I mean, we're going to have to really remember how unique that is. And that's why I say patient, because they're not always going to appreciate it. But I mean, it's going to be valuable, you know, that we have those set of experiences and be able to share that.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know, also just what's become the new norm too is, you know, navigating through our industry, just being able to transition through the pivots. You know, my grandfather used to say one thing. He was a man of very few words, but you know, when he said something, it was gems. But he just said that, you know, there's only one guaranteed thing in life, and that's change, right? And that is, I've seen that more in our industry than anything else, is change. And so being able to adapt, to pivot, and stay relevant in our industry is something to keep at the forefront of your mind. How can I do this? How can I, you know, hey, maybe my position was eliminated. All right, how can I be valuable and relevant now in the next role I find? You know, and so what I have found in that regard is really just keeping yourself open, staying teachable, adaptable, and then surrounding yourself with people who really truly care to coach you, mentors, and then people who challenge you to grow. You know, I recently made a change, you know, and I talked to a couple people that were mentors, you know, about some things. And I remember one in particular I went to was, kind of relaying onto him what I wanted to do, what I was going to do, and he told me it's a bad idea, you know, and I said, okay, well, can I ask you, is this because you are trying to keep me safe or keep me from growing,
Ooh,
and he said, I'm trying to keep you safe. I said, okay. And I appreciate it. I love
yeah.
him for it. I appreciate it, but it wasn't what I was trying to do. And he realized that. Then he was like, he kind of rethought it, and he's like, okay, yeah, maybe you should, move forward. It's risky, but go ahead and move forward.
Yeah.
He understood it. He understood where I was coming from,
Because it's a chance to
uh,
grow. You're trying to take a shot.
Exactly. Exactly. And so what would you say, like just advice if you had to, you're talking to the generation coming up behind you, what is your advice to staying relevant from your experience?
I think it's this exact thing that we're talking about. Things are not going to stay the way they are. You need
Mm,
to, if you're going to have success and you're going to remain relevant and you're going to do well in general, you cannot just show up and do the bare minimum every day. Like
yeah.
you have to fight for that survival. You have to fight for that success. You need to find ways to learn on your own time and grow on your own
Hmm.
time. And quite frankly, I would tell them, like, if you're not curious enough about what is going on around you, maybe you're not in the right industry.
Mm,
You're not going to go
yeah.
far if you're not very passionate about what you're doing. If you're not interested enough to learn, like how AI can improve what you're doing in the security industry, if you're not curious enough to learn what new products are on the horizon, if you're not curious about these things at all, what are you even doing? I mean, you're probably just in the wrong place, because there's something out there where you are going to be that enthusiastic and interested and curious. So I
That's a
think to
good
me, it's
point.
just like
Yeah.
always learning. And if you're always learning, the odds are that you're also learning what is coming, and you're going to deal with those changes
Hmm.
better, and you're going to be a valuable. I mean, the thing that I've always tried to explain to people is they think that they get a title or they get to this spot or that spot, and then they just kind of do the job, and then that makes them worth something.
Hmm.
And the single
Yeah.
biggest thing I'm always trying to get people to understand is it's like, no, like, what did they get from you that day? Like, you were paid an amount of money.
Hmm.
Were you worth it? Are you worth
Right.
more?
Right.
If you're not worth more,
Mm,
you're in trouble, is how I see it. So
right.
being part of being valuable can be someone, that you're someone that's always learning and growing and
Yeah.
helping them push their own boundaries too. If you're just going to show up and consider whatever you learned 2 years ago is fine, you're going to have a rough go at it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, good stuff. I agree with that 100%. Hey, let's move on to this next topic. And
yeah,
it was a topic you brought up that I
right.
thought was really interesting. And so definitely want to get your feedback on it. But did security botch the cloud transition? So everything is cloud now, or everything is trying to go cloud. But I found an
Hmm.
interesting stat. And this was from let's see, Genetech 2024 State of Physical Security Report.
Yeah.
And you know what it said? It said that only 25 to 35% of video surveillance and access control systems are cloud native. So there's a ton of room for growth. So there's no doubt that we are, pushing cloud pretty heavily. It's become a pretty big buzzword in our industry. But going back to that initial question, though, did security botch it? Do you think?
I've said this before. I think part of the problem is how we sold it.
Mm,
And you're looking at somebody who's guilty of being a part of that movement. I mean, I switched over to cloud only companies.
mm,
It was Hercules and then Cumulax, right? And that was my whole
right.
life was about this cloud transition. And because I worked in these other industries too in low voltage and experienced those transitions, I felt like I had an understanding of what that looks like and could add value. And in
Mm,
some ways, maybe I did, but I started figuring out 3 or 4 years ago. I'm like, dude, we have the wrong talking points.
mm,
So if you look at one that has led the way in cloud, as far as I can tell, they
mm,
focused on the customer experience, what makes life easier for the customer, what did the customer want? I'm talking the end customer,
mhm,
and they've achieved wild success. And I think the rest of us focused on what I call the exhaust coming out of the tailpipe, not the powerful engine. We're talking about the RMR,
Right.
the subscriptions,
Right.
and why won't you do managed services, and not really taking time to understand how that worked in the IT industry, why that even came about. And so I think that we're going to be as cloud as we can be over time, just because technology is going to go that way. But
Right.
to me, it's very telling that cloud was like the topic from 2018, maybe.
Right. Yep.
And then 2.5, 3 years ago, ChatGPT, we start hearing on the news, you should try this. This is kind of fun. I see cloud native solutions that are younger solutions out there. They don't even use the word cloud in any of their marketing. I mean, it went away.
Yeah.
It was the topic. AI came along. Do you hear a lot of people talking about cloud, the importance of cloud? What's your cloud strategy? What maybe you do in your daily conversations? I'm not sure, but I don't hear it.
Interesting.
It's not the topic. So it just totally went away when AI came about. And yeah, I think we looked at the byproducts and the benefits of the byproducts, and we're hyper focused on that rather than hyper focusing on what it brings to the customer, why it makes their life better. Because we had a conversation, and you kind of jokingly, I think you kind of thought you were putting me on the spot because we were having this kind of a conversation. But no, actually, I can give you a whole list of reasons I think cloud is great and that I would want that type of solution. But I don't feel we focused on that enough. So yeah, I mean, my perspective, I think we screwed it up. I think we botched it.
Interesting. Yeah, because I do talk cloud quite a bit, just day to day with customers, end users, because that it's on people's minds. But I definitely have seen a blurred line between cloud and hosted, because when I go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, hosted is cloud, but you have like different architectures that are cloud.
Right. Like
so
cloud
you can have
storage,
hosted and hybrid and cloud managed.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Cause I think when we were talking last about this, I'd asked you about like the cost perspective of it. Is it really cost efficient, or is it more expensive? And so, I mean, well, I'll ask you again, how do you see it? Cause you gave me an interesting answer to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think on the video side, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there's so many benefits to it, but if you go back to IT, right? So I was in IT as well as security in these other industries at the time that these things were changing over to cloud and managed services kind of happening all at the same time.
Right.
And I was actually not cloud. I was not an early adopter because I didn't trust it. But there came a point where it's like, okay, it cost me $20,000 in hardware from Dell to run my Exchange server. There's ongoing license cost. There's continual upgrades. And then you hit a point where the hardware you have no longer supports the latest upgrade. And so you have 3 to 5 year life cycle on that. So we're talking a lot of money. And then you come to me and you say, hey, $10 a user per month, this can all be in the cloud. Well, there you go. Just saved a lot of money. I did telephone, and it went from my breaking point was a small dentist office that had been a customer for the parent company for like 35 years. And it was just assumed you would get the business. And I quoted them a Panasonic system, like a TDA 50 probably. And that was kind of your $5,000-$6,000 phone system, which was considered low cost, right? It's a very budget phone system. And I went to them and they're like, no, I got this ShoreTel Connect cloud, and it costs me $35 a month for each of these 6 phones. And I've got everything that they offer. And I dealt with ShoreTel as well. And I looked into that because they had literally were in my lobby trying to get me to consider it. And I told them, no, get lost. I ended up calling them and I said, hey, can I sign up for this like today? Because instead of spending $85,000 for a 6-person and to get all of that, or even $6,000 for a feature not rich solution like I was offering, $35 times 6 with like $800 up front, they had everything, that ShoreTel could offer. Well, now, okay. So I just spent all that time explaining that. Now let's talk about cloud video.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ain't going to work like
Yeah.
that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we tried to use these other industries as the motivator for why you should consider a VSaaS. But immediately that's not going to work, because this is not going to be like an ROI type thing in terms of, instead of spending all this money, now you can just do this.
Right.
Because it does take a lot of data to move that into the cloud. And if you want to store that in the cloud, you're going to have to pay for that storage. So it's great tech. And if I'm ever running security for an end user, like, I want it to be cloud. I want to be able to see all of my sites. I want things to be up to date all the time. You know, we saw somebody making comments on LinkedIn recently, or maybe I posted something I saw on Reddit, but somebody saying, hey, do you think there will be the first big hack and everybody will get out of those cloud solutions? I'm thinking, like, dude, you're backwards.
Yeah.
Because I've worked for these companies. Okay. They update real time when there's a bug or a vulnerability or anything.
Yeah.
They fix it. It goes out to everybody. It's immediate. So, I mean, there's just so many reasons that I could go on. I could talk forever about why I like cloud, but it's just, we're trying to sell it the way they did in IT, man. It ain't going to work because it's not the same.
And to your point there with that question, I mean, we've already seen that. We've seen a huge hack with Verkada, and it didn't scare anybody away. It had no effect.
Yeah.
I mean, temporarily it did, but everybody, it's still a huge ask from every end user, every IT professional. They want.
But they didn't hack Verkada. I mean, I sure tried to take advantage of that when I was a competitor of them and bring that up. But the reality is, it was bad procedure. It was bad cyber hygiene. It wasn't like necessarily a flaw, aside from the fact that they had this master credential, which they should never have. Lesson learned. I don't think they do it that way anymore.
Interesting.
But somebody did not properly protect.
Oh, I see.
The document that contained that,
so
and that got hacked.
More of like the gatekeeper kind of fell asleep, so to speak.
It was, somebody, and I don't remember what their role was, but somebody more on the development side, I think it was, had stored a document that had that code, that password.
I see.
And they stored it in a place they shouldn't have stored it, and that was hacked.
Got it.
And then that's how, they didn't even hack into the service. They hacked into where they could get the password. And then, but the real question was, in the era of cloud and the way that we should structure these SaaS solutions now, that you should be like in the old days where, like, you could call the factory and here's a password that nobody knows about, which obviously 2 months in, everybody's going to know about. And, like that backdoor password they talk about, that shouldn't exist.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. And
but your point you're really making was the fact that they experienced a little blurb there. It wasn't great. It was uncomfortable. 3 years ago, later, now, like, that nobody talks about it. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. Exactly. I come across that all the time. But with all this being said, do you think then that, the integrator now, the modern integrator, is going to become the next managed service provider like IT became over the past decade?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And the reason I would say that is, unless you have a very large enterprise type customer that needs to outsource some of that because there's so much activity. I mean, sure, maybe then, but I think what I've seen a lot of, and I'm not trying to be overly critical, I know everybody's just trying to make it work and come up with their own way, but I've seen a lot of, like, I'm not going to service your solution unless you buy this managed service, which is really just a service contract. They're not operating the way managed services does. Managed services took an IT ecosystem that had become so complicated and moved so fast that, like I told you, back in the 90s, mid 2000s, you could have one person, if they were knowledgeable, could manage the whole thing and maybe call for help if they needed it. You can't do that now. You can't. People at Cisco will know one product line and know nothing about the other. There's too much to know.
Right.
And so managed services solved that problem, because now you could tap into a company that had 80 or 100 people, and through cloud and the modern tech could at scale keep everything up to date, could proactively see that there was a problem, not be on site and fix it for you while you're sleeping.
Yeah. Right.
And deal with all the cyber issues and all these things. And I don't care if you're a 10-person, plumbing contractor or 1,000-person financial company, like it's a big deal for everybody at that point. So I think that led the way for managed services because that's a big problem that everybody has. And it became just like a cloud subscription for Microsoft Exchange. Boy, did that save you money because you would never be able to hire enough people to have all those bases covered. And it would leave you vulnerable and leave you crippled as a business when those things failed.
Yeah.
Now, try to relate that to security because I still believe that most customers are in that small to medium-sized range. Most businesses in this country are in that small to medium-sized range. So please explain to me how a business with 30 employees that has 15 cameras and a couple doors, what is their ongoing need that you're offering managed services where it's that critical and it solves that kind of a problem for them? You're not in the same, it's important to us and it should be important to them. And I'm sure that they care, but they don't have daily issues with their surveillance. I mean, how many customers don't even look at it for the first time until something happens?
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. No, I mean, most companies that size don't even have an IT admin or, administrator. It's handled by, the admin at the desk, at the front desk. It's something really elementary, but
maybe they push buttons, let people in, but they're not doing stuff a lot. It's just not the same. And so I would tie this bow like this. I would say managed services and the fact that it solved that problem, it was a godsend for these businesses of small and medium size, especially. And what it is you would have this number that all this is taken care of and I never have to worry again. And in that number was all these subscriptions.
Yeah. Right.
They're just in there.
Right. Yep.
And that paved the way for these cloud subscriptions. Now talk to some IT integrators. You always hear different opinions, but I've heard time and time again, and I agree with this. As soon as they would take something that is included in that package and somebody would ask them to break it out, they would never go with the subscription ever. It would become a problem.
Yeah.
So they give you one number, life simple, all the subscriptions go in there. As subscriptions costs go up, it's kind of keeping pace with a normal expectation of inflation with the service. It's too important to them to get out of it. Everybody's kind of in the same ballpark with what they're charging. It works. We don't have that. I don't feel.
No, I think I agree with that, man. We are in an interesting time, man, within our industry, and it's cool and it's exciting to see, concerning at the same time, like we were talking about with the AI stuff, but dude, it's been a pleasure talking with you, man. These are, I think, just really important topics to, keep at the forefront of our mind as we're, moving through our lives, our professional careers, because we can't ignore it. Can't put our head down and not see or talk about this stuff.
Agree.
So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for your perspective. This is an organic conversation. I had an idea of ways you're going, but then you threw some other things at me that I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. So I appreciate it. And these are the kind of conversations I love having. And this is what, a lot of our guests can expect is this, these are real conversations, but dude, I think we can kind of wrap this up here as episode 1. I will throw it out there that, if any's gotten any value of today's episode, please give us a like, give us a comment. We're growing, we're learning. We want to know what is on the minds too of our listeners, so feedback is definitely welcomed. Anything you want to add there before we close out, Josh?
No, I think we get a lot of feedback that say Josh could talk less. That would be good.
Well,
I would just say, man, I really love the fact that we can have these organic conversations. I love the fact that we're both in a position now in our careers right now where we can focus on the industry. We can focus on our authentic thoughts and how we see things. And, we're not always going to get it right. So we want to get your feedback for that reason too, help join the conversation. because I think that more growth comes from that. But also,
Yeah.
I don't work for a cloud company anymore, so I can say what's on my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I probably always did whether it was good for me or not, but I'm just saying, I mean, I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And I hope we can bring some value to the industry with these conversations.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think we will. But all right, man, let's wrap it up. I'll just leave everyone with this. Stay sharp, stay secure, keep protecting what matters, and we'll see you in the field.